1500 years we have literature in any language, then only it should be given that status of ancient language or old languages. So some people said Telugu doesn't have 1500 years old literature, but many said yes, there is. I mean, say the Telugu literature is available from a very long back, but people generally believe that the Telugu literature or the writings, the literature is available only from the time of Nannaya, and Nannaya is just 11th century poet. Somewhere he translated on Mahabharata, Sanskrit Mahabharata into Telugu with the name Andhra Mahabharatam, uh, somewhere around 1029. So people said, how come you claim that you have, or your language is 1500 years old? But still, there are some researchers who are claiming that we have, I'm saying Telugu literature is very old, and for that they have shown many proofs, inscriptions, and all those things. Now, that's not the point of discussion. The point of discussion is, so who is the first person who wrote something in Telugu? Apart from the inscriptions that you can find, for example, there are many words. For example, there is a word Nagabu, which is found in some inscription. So that discussion is going on. Anyhow, we are not related concerned with that. Our concern is only with the language. So it's a old language which is being spoken for so many years, at least 1000 years, 1500 years minimum. But for the last 1000 years, we have literature also in Telugu. And the first person to write something in Telugu is Nannaya. That's why he is known as Adi Kavi Nannaya. That is his, uh, what should I say? Give, people identify him with that name. Okay. Why? Because he is the first person. So what is his writing? As I said, he translated Sanskrit Mahabharata into Telugu on the request of Rajaraja Narendra, who was the then king of the Telugu speaking areas. So the Nannaya was court poet of Rajaraja Narendra. On the request of Rajaraja Narendra, he first created the grammar to Telugu language. Then he started translating the Sanskrit Mahabharata into Telugu. He could translate only first chapter. How many chapters are there in Mahabharata? There are 18 chapters. So he successfully translated first chapter, second chapter, and some part of the third chapter. Then I don't know for what reasons, or because of his age, he died and he could not complete the translation. Then after a gap of some time, I don't know exactly, but maybe 1 or 200 years, or 50, 60 years. But after that, then comes another poet, Tikkana. He was also a minister in king's, some, I don't remember the king's name, but in some king's court, he was a minister. He was not just a poet, he was a minister. Even though he had a good command over the language, Sanskrit and Telugu. So as the case is same with Nannaya also. He was also having good command over Sanskrit language and Telugu. Because until unless he knows Sanskrit very well, he cannot translate a great literary work, an epic, from Sanskrit to Telugu. And to translate it into Telugu, he should also have knowledge in Telugu. So as I said, he is a scholar in both the languages. That's why people also call him Shabdanushasanadu Leda Vaganushasanadu. That means he was having a command. Shasinchadam is to command. So he has got that command in both the languages, Sanskrit and Telugu. In the same way, Tikkana, even though he was a minister, his profession was something different, but he was also a poet who was having good command over both the languages. So he started from the fourth chapter, and he completed or translated all the 18 chapters: 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. Now, what is the left out one? The third chapter, as I said, first chapter and second chapter, complete first chapter, complete second chapter, and some part of the third chapter were already translated by Nannaya into Telugu. And Tikkana, he started from 4th chapter and he completed all the 18. 4, 5 or 4 to 18. Now the remaining part, the left out part of 3rd chapter is completed by the 3rd poet, who is known as Erra Pragada or Errana. So the Nannaya, Tikkana, Errana together over a period of 3 to 400 years, they have translated the Sanskrit Mahabharata into Telugu with the name Andhra Mahabharatam. So these 3 poets together known as Kavitrayam of Telugu literature. Okay, so with them the Telugu literature or some kinds of writings in Telugu has started. But now there is a recent research who are saying that there is some other guy or some other poet who before Nannaya himself who wrote something in a big poetry in Telugu, but still it's not approved, I think, by the linguists. But he is claiming that somebody has written something before Nannaya itself. That's the question. Anyhow, we'll get to know these things. So this is, as of now, we believe that Nannaya is the first person. And Nannaya, Tikkana, Errana are the trio of Telugu literature who have translated, or instead of saying trio, English word, we can, it's better to use Kavitrayam. Mugguru Trayam means 3 members. Kavitrayam, Mugguru Kaulu. Evara Mugguru Kaulu ante Nannaya, Tikkana, Errana. Why we are taking their names? Because they are the persons who translated Sanskrit Mahabharata into Telugu. Like this, we have many other, and say after this, many people have started writing or translating many Sanskrit books into Telugu. Ramayana is now available in Telugu. Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, almost all the Puranas, Itihasas and Puranas, everything, even Manadharma Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Smritis are also available in Telugu. So people started translating it. It's not that we have only religious literature in Telugu. In Telugu also we have religious and non-religious literature. We have many things. We have many types of writings, like we have short stories, novels, poetry, prose. Okay, and these Telugu and Sanskrit are the 2 languages which have got a unique practice or process, which is called Shatavadana, Ashtavadana, Shatavadana, Sahasravadana, and Mahasahasravadana. Like this Avadhana Prakriya, or a program, a process. It is really unique to this Telugu and Sanskrit. You will not find this in any other language. So what is Avadhana? Do you have you ever heard this word, this name? Okay, login అయ్యి అందరూ ఎవరి పనులు వాళ్ళు చేసుకుంటున్నారండి? Are you busy with your work?
No, sir.
Then why are you taking this much time to respond? Almost 1 minute. All of you, nobody could respond immediately. That means all of you have joined the class and doing your work. This is not good, students. I don't appreciate these things. Okay, so what is my question? Who is going to tell me? I'm not even asking you the answer. I'm just asking you what my question was.
Avadhana.
Yeah. So anyone, do you have any idea? Anyone of you?
Revising Sanskrit literature into Telugu.
No. Yeah, somebody else. That's not correct, but anyhow, I appreciate you. You have tried at least. Anyone else? First is Avadhana, means to hear and to remember. Okay, so Avadhana is not a simple process. It's really it requires a great memory, intellectual capacity, many other things. For example, to tell you simply, Ashtavadana, in Ashtavadana there are 8 persons who ask 8 different questions. Okay, so questions from different fields. The field of study will also be different. Somebody may ask you a question on history, somebody may ask you a question on literature, somebody may ask you a question on grammar, somebody may just in between to see that you don't concentrate on the things. he will try to distract you. So there is a person for distracting the person who is answering. So like that, there will be 8 persons, and they'll ask 8 questions, different from different fields, and the person he has to answer them one by one. But in a single go, he will not answer. He will not give complete answer. For example, and these answers are in the form of poems, poetry, generally. So let us say first one has asked some question. He will give them the first line of his answer in the form of a shloka. Then second person will ask his question. Then he will give him again same first line of his answer. Then third person asks third question, and his answer are only first line of his answer. Then fourth person, like that, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Then once this first round is complete, then second round starts, and in the second round the first person will not ask his question again. The person who is answering, he has to remember, and he has to say, this is the question that you have asked, and this was my answer, first line. Now I am giving you the second line. So he should give his answer, that to the second line of his answer. Like that, there will be rounds. So in fourth round, he has to give complete answer. Now you remember, you try to understand how difficult it is. You should remember what they have asked, what their question is, and you should also remember what was your answer, and the first line of answer whatever you have given, and you have to give second line, then third line, fourth line, like that you have to finish the poem. And again, it's not that easy. They'll say you have to use this word only, or you should not use these words. This should be in this chandas, this metric only. And in between, there will be another person who will be distracting this person Avadhani. Okay, so this is how the things go on. One minute. Yeah, student. So this is a unique practice, or prakriya, or a process, a game like thing. And it's not that we have only Ashtavadana, we have Shatavadana, we have Sahasravadana. That means in the same way, there will be 100 people. They will be asking 100 different questions. And you have to, the Avadhani, or the person who is answering them, he is known as Avadhani. He has to give his answer, first line to first one, second line, again, first line to second one, first line to third one, like that to 100 members. One round is complete. Then in second round, again, he has to give the second line of his answer. Like this, he has to remember 100 questions and his 100 answers, and the first lines, then second lines, then third lines. Like again, in the same way, as I said, there are some restrictions. Someone will say you have to tell this in this metric only, in this chandas only, and someone will say you should not use these words, you should use these words only. And in between, there is a person who is trying to distract. Like this, they have 1,000 Sahasravadana, 1,000 people asking questions at a time. Is it easy or difficult?
Difficult.
So this is very unique one. You will not find this kind of game in any other language. That is the greatness or beauty of Telugu and Sanskrit. So Sanskrit, after Sanskrit, Telugu is the language which is having this kind of game, or a prakriya. I am not getting the exact word. So Avadhana. Then this Telugu language is really, I as I said, is having great, huge literature. And this literature is not only religious, as I said, we have non-religious literature also. And there are many kings who are, I say, who are also interested in this kind of poetry or literature, and who themselves, some of them, they have even, for example, Krishnadevaraya is a king, and he, being a king, he was very busy with his daily routine, or what should I say, administration and wars and all those things. But still, he was interested in literature. He used to encourage poets, or his court was having 8 very famous poets who are known as Ashtadiggajas of Telugu language, and they wrote many prose and poetry. Even Sri Krishna Devaraya, he himself was a poet. He wrote Amukta Malyada in Telugu. Okay, so the kings used to encourage different people, different poets, and these poets used to produce different literature. For example, I might have talked about the Gupta period of Sanskrit. And say Gupta period, Guptas were the people who were very much interested in Sanskrit language. So it's a golden period for Sanskrit language, like Kalidasa, Bharavi, Bhasa, Dandi. These poets were encouraged by the kings. In the same way, Vijayanagara Emperor, Vijayanagara rule is the golden age for Telugu literature. Why? Because this Vijayanagara, to this the Vijayanagara dynasty only, Sri Krishnadevaraya belongs to, and his court was having these 8 great poets. Can you name any one of these 8 poets? I'm sure
Tenali
that you all know.
Ramakrishna.
Very good. I was about to say that. I'm sure that you all know at least one name, that is Tenali Ramakrishna. So who are the other 7? Alasani Peddana is the oldest of these 8, and he used to. Yeah, please go on.
Timmana.
Yeah, Nandi Timmana. He's also known as Mukku Timmana.
Pingali
First,
Surana.
very good. Pingali Surana. So Alasani Peddana, Nandi Timmana, then Madayagari Mallana, Pingali Surana,
Durjati.
Dhurjati, Ramabhadra Kavi, then Ramaraja Bhushana Kavi. These were the 8 poets. So somebody said Dhurjati and somebody said Pingali Surana. What are their writings? Why are they that famous? Dhurjati wrote Srikalahastishwara Shatakam and Srikalahastishwara Mahatyam, a prose and a poetry. Both are really famous. And very, I would say, one should read it. The message in this poetry, I have not read the prose, but I have read the poetry. It is really good. Dhurjati Shatakam, Srikalahastishwara Shatakam. Great. Alasani Peddana wrote Manu Charitra. He is known as Andhra Kavita Pitamaha. What is Manu Charitra? Where did we come across this name? Have you ever discussed anything about this name, Manu? Have we? Haven't we? I told you that we people are known as Manushyas. Why? Because we are the descendants of Manu. It is believed that we are the descendants of Manu. That's why we have got the name Manushya or Manushulu. So this Manu's history, Charitra, is written by Alasani Peddana in Telugu. Then Nandi Timmana, he wrote Parijata Paharana. Coming to this Dhurjati, as I said, he wrote Kalahastishwara Shatakam. Okay, Pingali Surana. Pingali Surana wrote Pingali Surana Garuda Puranam, I don't remember, but he wrote, and say, I know a unique or a peculiar writing of Pingali Surana, Raghava Pandaviyam. So this Raghava Pandaviyam, the uniqueness or the speciality of this Raghava Pandaviyam, you may be right, I don't know, but I have knowledge of this particular Raghava Pandaviyam only. So Puranas are all, to my knowledge, written by Vedavyasa in Sanskrit, and somebody else might have translated it into Telugu. Originally, Garuda Puranam is written by Vedavyasa in Sanskrit, but I don't know who wrote it or who translated it in Telugu. You may be right. So the Pingali Surana, yeah. Raghava Pandaviyam is a poetry by reading which you'll understand it is one single poetry, but you will find two stories in this poetry. That means the story of Rama and the story of Pandavas both are explained in one single poetry. దీన్ని ద్వ్యర్థి కావ్యము అంటారు తెలుగులో. ద్వి అంటే రెండు అని మీనింగ్, ద్వి మీన్స్ టూ, ద్వి అర్ధి, దట్ మీన్స్ it gives two meanings, two different meanings. So if you see one meaning, if you check one meaning, if you go by one meaning, then you will get the story of Rama, and the other meaning gives you the story of Pandavas. That is the beauty of Telugu language. Dvyardi Kavyam. One poetry will give you two stories. How difficult it is, you can imagine. He wrote Kala Purnodayam also, another famous one. So there were poets. People generally know the name Tenali Ramakrishna, but do you know what is his writing? Or what is he famous for?
Panduranga
Pardon?
Mahatyam.
Very good. Panduranga Mahatyam is the writing of Tenali, and this is what he wrote, Tenali Ramakrishna, and he is very famous for his practical jokes. As you have Akbar Birbal stories, in the same way you have Tenali Ramakrishna and Sri Krishnadevaraya's stories, Tenali Ramakrishna stories. Very famous. He is known for his practical jokes. Okay, so Madhai Gari Mallana wrote Rajashekara Charitra. Like this, we have many Telugu poets, but the important thing to know is that from the 11th century till 14th century, for the first time, people, the Kavitrayam, that is Nannaya, Tikkana, Errana, they have, of course, it was not, I would say, these three people never came together and never sit and translated the Samskrita Mahabharata. But it has happened so that first Nannaya tried, but he could not succeed, and say he could not complete it. Then Tikkana took the charge after some time, but he also could not complete all the chapters. He could not translate all the chapters, but he did almost 15 chapters are completely translated by Tikkana, and the remaining part of third chapter, which Nannaya left out, then that was translated by Yarrana. So these three are known as Kavitrayam, and with them the Telugu literature has started, and you have n number of kinds of prose poetry in Telugu. As I said, we even have Avadhana Prakriya in Telugu, which is really unique to Telugu. Talking about other non-religious material, can you name any poet and his poetry, maybe of recent origin? Have you read any poem or prose story or a novel in Telugu ever? At least one. And do you know the name of the author? Or have you heard songs, Telugu songs, and the names of the authors? There used to be a famous song, Chadurani Vadavani Digul Chandak. It is written by C. Nare. That is C. Narayan Reddy. Like that, can you name any poem and his poetry, or a song and his writer's name? Students, remember, even after completing your education, when you join corporate sector or a government job you take up, then also people say that a person is considered, or we have to treat somebody as alive only if he or she reads at least one book, how small or how big it may be, at least one book, okay, in 6 months. And that too, this book should not be related to his profession, main profession. Let us suppose you are a computer science engineer and there is some book, a new book on computer science. If you are buying it and reading it, no, that will not be considered. Something which is not directly related to your work, your profession. Few people may be interested in reading novels. Few may be interested in reading poetry, prose, stories, or movie songs. But one should know, one should have this habit. So it is saying I have corporate experience. Almost I've been in different banks. I've worked in ICICI, HDFC, Canada, India operations. So people always they say one should read at least one book in a 6 months. Otherwise, he should not be considered alive. So I can give you a few names. These authors are recent and say of recent origin. You people might have heard this name, Kaloji Narayan Rao. Have you heard this name ever?
Yes, sir.
So what is the context?
I just heard the name, sir.
Okay. So you might have heard his name during Telangana agitation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So he's a poet from Warangal. He's very famous. He never joined mainstream politics, but he was a person known for his sincerity, or what should I say, committed. He was a committed social worker, or he worked a lot towards the people's rights. So there is a compilation of his poetry which is named as Nagorava, very famous. Uh, Going back a few years back, Sri Rangam Srinivas Rao was a famous poet. People talk great and say high about his intellectual capacity. To be more specific in Telugu, Sri Rangam Srinivas Rao. What is his writing? Mahaprasthanam, very famous. There are many other things he wrote, even movie songs. He wrote a novel, 1 plus 1 is equal to 11 something. Yeah. But his poetry, Mahaprasthanam, is very famous. Then, have you ever heard the name Gurram Joshua? Very famous. He wrote Buddha Charitam. He wrote Gabilam, Firadausi. Gabilam is must read. A small book, not even 20-25 pages. So the Telugu literature is also rich, and we have many types of coming to Vemana. Have you ever heard Vemana Shatakam? Vemana and Vemana Shatakam?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have a travel log also. Enugu Lakshmana Kavi is the first person. No, not Enugu Lakshmana Kavi. I forgot the name, but Enugu Lakshmana Kavi translated the Bhartrhari's Shatakam into Telugu. That's a different story. What is a Shatakam? Shatakam is it consists of 108 poems, and it gives you a message: what to do, what not to do. As we have Vemana Shatakam, in the same way, there is a Shatakam in Sanskrit, which is written by a famous poet King Bhartrhari. So this Enugu Lakshmana Kavi translated it. That's another story. And we have his books, and say books on history. We have translations, we have novels, we have poetry, we have prose, short stories, long stories, all kinds of literature in Telugu also. Then have you heard this name, Gurjada Apparao?
Yes, sir.
What is his famous writing? There is a movie also. I am saying his novel is basing on his novel. They have come up with a movie also, directed by, I don't remember, but there is a movie which is based on his novel, and it was very famous. Kanya Shulkam, Gurjada Apparao. So like this, we have many poets, and this is what all about Telugu language. Then the other language, which is almost similar to Telugu, those who can read Telugu, they can also read this language. Can anyone guess as to what is that language?
Kannada.
Exactly, Kannada. And Kannada is spoken by the people of
Karnataka.
Karnataka. So Kannada is another language, and Kannadigas speak this language. It is the script of the language is almost similar, but when it comes to pronunciation, it's a bit different. So one who can read Telugu can also easily read Kannada. It's not a big deal. Okay. So Vijayanagara rulers, they were ruling a big area, and some parts of Karnataka, the present day Karnataka, were also under the rule of these Vijayanagara rulers. Okay, so but even though they ruled some part of Karnataka and some part of Telugu speaking areas, these Vijayanagara rulers were really interested in Telugu. That's why you find Sri Krishna Devaraya saying Desha Bhashalandu Telugu Lessa. They even encouraged Sanskrit poetry and Kannada poetry also, right? And many Jain scholars, especially, why Jain scholars were interested in Kannada, or why is it that they contributed for the development of Kannada? Simple. There, one of the main temples or places of worship is in Karnataka. What is that? Shravana Belagola, related to Jainism. So these people, Jains, they used to preach, or they used to spread their religion in that part of the country. So they have also contributed for the development of this Kannada language. For example, Madhava is a saint, Jain saint, who wrote Dharmanada Purana. Dharmanada is a what should I say, Tirthankara. Tirthankara before Vardhamana Mahavira. Vardhamana Mahavira is the actual last 24th Tirthankara. But there were 23 Tirthankaras before Vardhamana Mahavira. And this Dharmanada was the 15th Tirthankara. So he wrote, Madhava wrote the history of Dharmanada with the name Dharmanada Purana in Kannada language. Another Jain scholar, his name is Uritta Vilasa. He wrote Dharma Parikshe, something like this. Okay, so the Kannada language is also rich, and so it has also the different kinds of literature in it. Now we have talked about the Jain literature. Now let us talk about the language itself. Actually, it is believed that this language got developed only after 10th century AD. That means it is younger than Telugu language. The earliest known literary work of Kannada is Kaviraja Marga. It is actually written by the Rashtrakuta king Nrupatunga. Do you know there is a college on the name of Nrupatunga in Hyderabad itself? Did you ever notice this? And this college is maintained by Kannadigas. We have Maharashtrians here, that means people who speak Marathi in Hyderabad. We have Jains, we have Sikhs, we have Parsis. That's why ours is a metro culture. Okay, coming back to the discussion, that is Kannada language. So Kannada is, and so one of the earliest writings in Kannada is Kaviraja Marga, written by a Rashtrakuta king. The king himself wrote it. Nrupatunga Amogha Varsha is his name. And there are many other kavis like Pampa, Ranna, Ponna. Pampa is the first person, as we have Nannaya in the same way. Pampa is the first poet in the Kannada language. He wrote Adi Purana. And Vikramarjiva Vijaya. It's not Vikramarjiva. So somewhere around 10th century. And Pampa was the court poet of Chalukya king Arikesari. So this is how the history or the literature of Kannada is. And as I said, there are many other poets. Apart from Pampad, there is another poet by name Ranna and the Ponna. Again, these three are the trio of Kannada literature. Are you following me, students? As we have Nannaya, Tikkana, Errana, in the same way, this Kannada literature is also having a trio. That means three poets. They are Pampa, Ranna, and Ponna. Very famous. This Ponna wrote an epic with the name Shanti Purana. Ranna wrote Ajitanatha Purana. Okay. Then in the 13th century, Kannada people, I'm saying the poets of Kannada language, they have tried different things. For example, Harishwara wrote Harishchandra Kavya, Somanatha Charita. Then another person, Bandhu Varma, he wrote Harivamsha Abhyudaya, Jiva Sambodhana. So these are not purely religious writings. Some Hoysala kings who were ruling some part of the Kannada speaking areas, they also encouraged several poets to produce different kinds of works in Kannada language. So Rudra Bhatta is another poet of this period who wrote Jagannatha Vijaya. Then there was another poet. What is his name? It's Andaya. He wrote Kabbigara Kava. So another work. So there were different poets in different times, and different kings encouraged different poets. Because of the patronage of kings, these poets could produce huge and rich literature. So you can see the development of Kannada literature from the 10th century, but we can say there was a great development in this Kannada literature during the 14th century to during this period, that is 14th century to 16th century, under the patronage of again same Vijayanagara kings. Even though they liked very much the Telugu language and Sanskrit, but they have also encouraged Kannada language or Kannada writers. There is another writer by name Kunara Vyasa, who wrote Bharata, and Narahari is another one who wrote Tarave Ramayana. So there are many individuals who have wrote different kinds of, who created different kinds of literary works. Jaimini Bharata, like this. This is all about the Kannada language. Then coming to Malayalam. Where do in which state do the people speak this language? Students, are you online?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
I don't think
Yes,
so.
sir.
So what was the question that I asked you?
Malayalam is spoken in Kerala.
Very good. Okay. Is there any chance that you can record the video and you can listen and say, rewind it and listen to it? Because I don't think you people are paying attention, because you are not immediately answering my questions. Okay, leave it. So Malayalam is another language, Indian language, which is spoken in the Kerala, and this language is developed somewhere around 11th century to 15th century. Almost all the South Indian languages you will find the same period, somewhere from 10th century, 9th century, except Tamil. Tamil is really the oldest, one of the oldest languages. So whether it be let it be Malayalam, let it be Kannada, let it be Telugu, somewhere around from 9th century till 14th century, So this Malayalam language is also developed somewhere around 11th century to 15th century. And everyone claims that it is an independent language. It has got nothing to do with Sanskrit, or it nothing to do with other languages. They always say that. These Malayalis also say the same. So there is a famous poet Bhasa Kautilya. He might have got this name Kautilya because he translated the Kautilya's Arthashastra. Or it's not translation actually. He wrote a treatise, that is a commentary on Arthashastra. And he also wrote another book with the name Koka Sandesa. Koka Sandesham and Telugulo anevalemo, because it's Malayalam, he said Koka Sandesa. Then Rama Panikkar and Ramanuja and Ezuttan, no, it's Ezhuthachan, that's all. Ezhuthachan are the other well-known Malayali writers. So I don't know whether they have that much literature or not, but I have a limited knowledge of it. So whatever things I know, I'm just trying to share with you all. So I have given you three names: Rama Panikkar and Ramanuja and Ezhuthachan. These are the famous writers, and it's a South Indian language, but it is not as famous as Telugu or Tamil. In a way, I can simply say among the South Indian languages, first the very spoken by large number of people and very famous is Tamil. Next is Telugu. So first and second places are captured by Tamil and Telugu. And there are number of journals in Kerala, that is in Malayalam. Newspapers are also there. These people, they are really, education wise, these people are far better. They always, their average or percentage of literature rate, literacy I should say, is always better. You take any census. These people are really educated and they move from place to, from their hometown to any other place for job, for work. And they are really having good knowledge in English. This is what is a short information that I have with regard to the Malayalam literature. Okay, then comes Tamil language. As I said, it is the ancient most language in the vernacular languages, and this has got huge literature. We have proofs that this Tamil language was in use from the very beginning of Christian era. That is, in 3rd, 4th centuries. By that time, there were people who were speaking Tamil. So it's no wonder that it is the ancient. It has got the status of ancient language. Okay, so it is believed that in the very beginning of Christian era, people were using this language. And not only that, the kings of Tamil Nadu, they have they encouraged the poets to come together to form a group. In those days, they used to call it Sangha or Sangham. And the poets used to come to one place and they used to meet there, because anyhow kings used to provide them all what they were required, and they used to pay them money. So all these poets used to gather at one place and they used to produce huge literature in huge amounts, huge volumes. So there are 3 times this has happened. That means the Tamil kings, those who are ruling the southern part of Tamil Nadu, or the southern part of India, which is known as Tamil Nadu, they have encouraged poets to come to Madurai and sit at one place peacefully, and all those things which are required for them were taken care by the administration, that is the king. What they have to do, they have to write the things. I mean, say create a literature in Tamil. That is the main idea, and this was really successful. They produced these, and say Sangams produced huge volume of literature. That's why this literature which is produced in Sangam age is known as Sangam literature. There were translations, there were original writings. So as I said, people used to come from all over all the parts of Madras. They used to gather in Madurai, and all the facilities were provided by the kings. So they used to simply sit and write. So those assemblies are known as Sangams, and the literature which is created in those what should I say, assemblies is called Sangam literature. Rule number 121. Sorry, 61. Okay, 61, 62,
Present, sir.
Yes, sir.
62
61
or
present, sir.
61,
62 present, sir.
61 present, sir.
63. Okay, 61, 62, 60, 64,
Present, sir.
65,
Present, sir.
66,
Present, sir.
67,
Present, sir.
68, 69,
69 present, sir.
70,
Present, sir.
71,
Present, sir.
72,
Present, sir.
73,
Yes, sir.
74,
Yes, sir.
okay, 75,
Yes, sir.
76, 77,
Present, sir.
78,
Present, sir.
79,
Present, sir.
80,
76
Present,
present.
sir.
76 would have
80
present. Okay, 76 and 80. Then 81, 82,
Present, sir.
83, 84,
Present, sir.
85,
Present, sir.
86,
Present, sir.
87,
Present, sir.
1 minute, 86 and 87. Okay, 88,
Present, sir.
89,
Present, sir.
90,
Yes, sir.
91,
91 present, sir.
pardon? 91, is 91 present?
Present, sir.
92,
Present, sir.
93,
Present, sir.
94,
Present, sir.
95,
Present, sir.
96, 97.
Present, sir.
Is 96 present? No, so 97 is present. 98, 99,
Present, sir.
100,
Present, sir.
101,
Present, sir.
102,
Present, sir.
103,
Present, sir.
104,
Present, sir.
105,
Present, sir.
106,
Present, sir.
107,
Present, sir.
108,
Sir.
109, 110,
Present, sir. 110.
111,
Present, sir.
112, 113,
Present, sir.
113, 114,
Yes, sir.
115, 116,
Yes, sir.
117,
Present, sir.
118,
Present, sir.
119, 120.
Present, sir.
Okay.
Sir, 190 present, sir.
119 present. Okay. 120 is also present. So 1 minute, students. We still have time. Don't leave the class just on that. Yeah, so this is Malayalam literature. So do you have any idea as to, sorry, Tamil literature I was talking about. So do you have any idea as to who are the famous poets in Tamil language? Students, are you online? Or have you left the class?
Yes, sir.
We are
Yeah.
online.
Okay, so do you have any idea as to, I told you about Sangams, and I told you that the literature or we have proofs to say that this language was in use from the very beginning of the Christian era. And I also told you that the kings, they used to encourage people to come to Madurai and sit there. They used to provide them all the things whatever required for them, for example, food, shelter, and the paper like thing, not paper, papyrus or something to write, or they used to provide them scribes. So these poets can simply sit and whatever comes to their minds and say the poetry or prose, they just have to utter it. Then the scribe will note it down. All such facilities were provided by kings. Around by 600 AD, they were having few literature because first Sangam was over. So like this, there were three Sangams, three times the kings in various periods of time. They called for Sangams. They gathered the poets, and then they have given them whatever is required to them, and they asked them to produce literature. But we don't have much of the Sangam literature now. We lost it, but at least some from the third Sangam and from second Sangam we have some literature based on which we can say that are the with the information that is available in the literature, that is because of second this result of because of second Sangam or third Sangam, we can say that some first Sangam has also happened. That's how we know that three Sangams have happened, are taken place till now. And the literature which is produced in these Sangams was not just religious, it was religious and not non-religious also. Okay, so my question was, do you know, or can you name any poet, famous poet, Tamil poet? Okay. I'll tell you. As you have Confucius in China, you have Tirukural or Kural, Tiruvalluvar. It's not Kural. Kural is written by Tiruvalluvar. Tiruvalluvar is the name of the poet. Tiruvalluvar and his sayings are really famous in Sanskrit. If you see any say learned Tamilian, they quote Tiruvalluvar's writings or proverbs or sayings. He's really famous, and those words are really wonderful. So this Tiruvalluvar's writing, which is named as Kural, is known as Tirukural. Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural. This Tiru is a word which is used as answer to show some respect, or to say that this writing or this place is pious. So this Tirukural was really famous, and Tiruvalluvar wrote it. He was actually a saint, not a poet. As we have, for example, Vemana is a saint, but he wrote, Vemana Shatakam is very famous. In the same way, Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural. And this Tirukural is translated into many languages because I told you it is really famous, and the sayings are superb sayings. So, apart from Tirukural, we have many, till the time of Subramanya Bharati, we have many poets, great poets. Do you know, have you ever heard this name, Subramanya Bharati? He was a patriot. Okay, we'll discuss about him. So before we complete answer, within the time we have to complete this. So there are about 30,000 lines of poetry which is which comprise of, I'm say, 2000 poems, which are collected from this Sangam literature from various times. Like it can be from first Sangam, it can be from second Sangam or third Sangam. So three Sangams have taken place. 3 times the kings have encouraged the poets to gather at Madurai and produce literature. So from these 3 Sangams, we have 2000 poems, approximately 30,000 lines poetry. Okay, which is arranged in 8 anthologies, which are named as Ettukottai. Okay, the 3 main groups are Kanakku. There is some prefix to this Kanakku. I don't remember it. Then Pattu Patta, Pattu Pattu, and then Ettukottai. As I said, Ettukottai, Kanakku, Pattu Pattu. These are the 3 names, and say the writings are divided into these 3 groups. First group's name is Ettukottai, then second group is some Kanakku, and third group is Pattu Pattu. Okay, so people used to produce, and the whatever literature produced in those 3 Sangams is divided into these 3 groups. Then besides this Sangam text, we can say there is a famous writing, that is Tolkappiyam. Tolkappiyar wrote it, and the name is Tolkappiyam. We have 2 famous epics, as we have Ramayana and Mahabharata in Sanskrit. In the same way, there are 2 epics in Sanskrit, Silappadikaram and Manimekalai. You might have heard these names, Silappadikaram, Manimekalai. These, it is believed that they are composed somewhere around 6th century AD. Okay, so different stories are mentioned in this Silappadikaram and Manimekalai, but these are the famous writings in Tamil poetry. In one book, I don't know whether it is Manimekalai or in Silappadikaram, might be in Manimekalai, I think. It's actually a story, a love story of a merchant's daughter with some king. Okay, so this, you can find the even though this Tamil language was in existence from the early centuries, Christian era, from the early Christian era, but you will find devotional poems or literature by Nayanars. There are 2 different kinds of sages. One is known as the Nayanars group, and the other one is Alvars. Nayanars were the saints who worship Lord Shiva, and Alvars worship Lord Vishnu. So these Nayanars have contributed to this Tamil literature. There was a rich poetry, and many of Nayanars have written many books. So from 6th century to 12th century, in between these times, many Nayanars and Alvars also have written many kinds of religious books, theology, you can say, prose and poetry, which made the Sanskrit Tamil language rich. Okay, there are some poets from Nayanars, and there are some poets Alvars also. As I said, Nayanars, the only difference is Nayanars worship Shiva, Lord Shiva, and Alvars worship Lord Vishnu. Whatever it is, let it be worshipper of Vishnu or worshipper of Shiva, but they have come up with the different ideas, and these ideas are put in the form of writing, and these writings made the Tamil literature rich. And there is another poet by name Kamban, who is very somebody said his name Kamban. It's not Kamban, it's Kamban. Kamban is famous for Ramayana, Kamba Ramayana. This is all about Tamil literature. So we have successfully completed Telugu, Tamil, and Sanskrit. So thank you, class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll conclude the session. No doubts? Shall I conclude the session? Thank you, class.
Thank you, sir.